Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing a Persona 5 ranking of the palaces. This video took a long time to make, aka I edited it a lot. So hopefully you guys enjoy, and make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you did. I will be gladly able to make more of these videos if you guys say so in the comments. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoy, and I'll see you in the actual list. Now in today's video, I'm only going to be ranking the first 7 original palaces, aka Kamoshida, Moderama, Kaneshiro, Futaba, Okumara, Nijima, and Shido. Those are the only palaces I'm going to be ranking. I'm not ranking Mementos, as I don't classify it as an actual palace, pretty much. I'm only ranking the actual palaces, if you know what I mean. Alright, and up first we of course have Okumars Palace, coming in at number 7. Okumars Palace is the 5th palace in the game, and in Okumara is the CEO of, what was it called? Planet Burgers? Whatever it's called in game, and also the father of Haru, which is one of the Phantom Thieves. Now, of course this is not an unpopular opinion, as we are talking about base Persona 5, not Persona 5 Royal, but Okumars Palace is probably some of the most, or the worst, written things in the entire Persona franchise, as just the story around Okumars Palace just didn't fit all that well. Going into the actual design and layout of the palace itself, I don't really like it. The kind of space theme kind of came out of nowhere. I don't even remember where or how they figured out it was a spaceport to begin with. I would have thought that it was a factory if I hadn't had the external knowledge of knowing it was a spaceport. Now, of course, there is reason to why it's a spaceport, as of which I can't really remember right now, but as of the base game, you can't really tell why Okumars Palace is a spaceport. I know there's like explanations in his character, but a normal Persona 5 player will not be able to, or won't have the time to decipher it. Other than that, the enemies, like the shadows in Okumars Palace, aren't all that great either, just kind of very unoriginal, and fuck the elephant. The elephant was my goddamn nightmare. I don't like it. Haru was one of the good things about this palace, though, as I do like pretty much every character in Persona 5, excluding Okumara, because he's just a piece of shit. There was no reasoning behind Okumara. He was just, what was it? He wanted a toy, when he was a kid, so he made it a mass empire where he exploits his employees and stuff like that so he can be rich. And that was his entire character. He was poor, and then he became rich, and that's it. Other than that, Okumars Palace comes in number 7, and we're going on to number 6. Now in 6th place, we're going to be having Kamoshidas Palace. Now I know this is going to be a very controversial take, because I know a lot of people really like this first palace. I do too, but just as somebody who's played through Persona 5 so many times, I've kind of gotten, let's just say, bored of the first palace. And don't get me wrong, as a tutorial palace, it is one of the best designed tutorials I've ever seen. Keeps the player engaged, doesn't let go, the story is gripping. Kamoshida is probably one of the most well-written villains I've ever seen. They somehow made a high school gym teacher menacing as fuck, but it's just kind of basic, if you know what I mean. They don't do a whole lot different, as I know they shouldn't because it's the first palace. But other than the things that I just mentioned, I don't really have anything else to say about the palace. I know a lot of people will say this is a controversial take, I know it is. And if Kamoshidas Palace is higher in your list, then good for you. I also believe that Kamoshidas Palace is a great palace. It's just me personally, it's going to number 6. If you guys have Kamoshidas Palace any higher, feel free to leave your palace rankings in the comments below. Other than that, we're going to move on to number 5. Alright, on to Futaba's Palace. So Futaba's Palace is the 4th palace in the game, but Futaba's Palace is also going to be number 5 on my ranking. So one of the main reasons why I'm ranking Futaba's Palace this low is basically just because of the aesthetic. I don't really like the aesthetic of the Egyptian pyramid. Most of the time, because of where it's set, the rooms and locations inside the pyramid just look old or reused. It kind of feels like it's repeating itself. I like the story behind it. I also do like the boss fight, but the boss fight, especially in Royal, was way too easy. It's also one of those things of I wanted more from it, where later in the game I wanted to be able to fight more cognitions, kind of like Wakaba in Futaba's Palace, but we don't. So it's like a subversion of expectations. I thought we were going to do more, but we didn't, and that's kind of a disappointment and kind of makes me just, I know I shouldn't do it, but I kind of just makes me disregard Futaba's boss fight as a whole. Other than that, other than the aesthetic in the boss fight, the monsters or the shadows in the palace are actually really cool, although they do reuse the exact same boss fight like multiple times with the coffin and the snake girls. That boss fight was like, we had to fight those guys like 2 or 3 times within the palace. Anubis was, it was a good design. It fucking sucked though. It was immune to pretty much everything. I did like the puzzles in Futaba's Palace. They were really great, except for that one puzzle that I always get stuck on and I always have to look up how to do because I always forget how to do it. Other than that, Futaba's Palace is a solid 5 in my ranking. Especially also when it goes to Royal, when her palace wasn't changed all that much, but the things holding her up above Kamoshida and Okumars is the story in general. The story between Futaba and her mother is really heartbreaking, and it was probably the main reason why I kept playing through Futaba's Palace, and why I'm ranking her palace above Kamoshida's and Okumars. Alright, so Moderama's Palace is a palace that I really enjoy, hence why it's number 4. Moderama in general is the reason why I like this palace, as Moderama is the most redeemable out of all of the villains in Persona 5. One of the main reasons why I like this in general is because it's just the atmosphere. I mean, like, your phantom thieves going into a museum. Put those two together, this shit writes itself, alright? Also, one of the big reasons why I like this is the boss fight. I know a lot of people, especially in base Persona 5, do not like the boss fight, but Moderama's boss fight is one of the reasons why this palace is so high. I really like the design of this boss, and pretty much everything else about it. Other than that, the design of the overall palace is quite simple, as it is the only 2nd palace in the game, but it does introduce a couple of new things like the painting puzzle, and also the treasure demons as well. Yusuke is probably one of my favorite characters also in Persona 5, as he is always on my main team. In case you guys don't know, my main team for Persona 5 is Joker, because you have to have him, Makoto, Yusuke, and Haru. That's my main team. Anyways, we're going to move on from this and go on to number 3. And now on to number 3, which is Kaneshiros Palace. So, I really like Kaneshiros Palace, basically because of the same reason kind of like I like Moderama's Palace, just we're Phantom Thieves, we're going to a bank, it writes itself. Alright. Kaneshiro himself was a very good villain as well. I like the symbolism behind his boss fight of him being a fly and having to rely on the pig. That symbolism was very nice. The overall design of the bank as well, I really like as well. It's complicated, it has multiple ways you can go. It doesn't like restrict you as well, like some other palaces, kind of like Kamoshidas Palace, although his palace is a tutorial palace. But Kaneshiros Palace was really nice. Symbolism behind most of the stuff, the codes were really nice as well, with like the words that meant a lot to Kaneshiro as well. Just the overall gluttony, which is his deadly sin or whatever that he represents in the game, was portrayed so well in his palace that it was just overwhelming. The monsters or the shadows in the palace were also really nice as well. I really liked them. It also introduced Makoto, pretty much my second favorite Phantom Thief, right after Joker. Makoto is my waifu, don't you dare touch her. Other than that, I don't really have much else to say on Kaneshiro. We're gonna move on to number 2. This was a tough decision. Cheetos Palace was going to be number 1 spot, but I had to bump him down to number 2, so here he is. Shido basically being the end-all be-all, at least as you know it, until you have to go to be God at the end of the game. But he was basically the final boss, pretty much. His palace was well designed. I thought the idea of a cruise ship being a palace was so outlandish that it was probably one of the best ideas that for a palace, just relating with Shido and his personality as well. Just the music of this area as well. Just take a listen to this, all right? Just take a listen to the theme song of this area. You got a good listen? Yeah, right. It's a total bop, right? You know, right? So the only reason why Cheetos Palace was not number 1 is because of, well, the aesthetic. Even though I just said that the cruise ship was probably one of the best ideas, his palace was too long and repetitive. Basically, what you had to do was go around and beat 4 bosses before you were able to go up against the Ketchi and then Cheetos. Just the amount of things that you had to go and beat were just too much. And I know that was the case. It was supposed to be like that because it was the final area, technically. But just the amount of things that you had to do was outlandish. Just go beat the 4 guys, and then after you beat the cleaner, you immediately have to fight a Ketchi, which was what screwed me over on my first playthrough. That, it completely messed me up on my first playthrough. And then Shido's boss himself. I liked Shido's boss itself. It was really fun. Just Rivers in the Desert playing in the background was so nice. I don't think I'm able to play it because I think I'm already going to get a copyright strike from this video anyways. But that's my thoughts on Cheetos Palace. It's so cool, but unfortunately it can't be number 1. Also, side note, I know a lot of people hate the rat maze, but I personally think it was a cool idea. And that's everything. On to number 1. On to number 1, baby! You! We're on Nijima's Palace. Alright, we're gonna quiet down just a little bit. But Nijima's Palace is basically the best palace in the game. according to me. Nijima's Palace does literally nothing wrong. The boss fight is good, the aesthetic is good, the overall design is good, the shadows are good, the story is good, everything is good, alright? I think this is probably the best that they can get to a masterpiece within this game. The overall design of the casino, which by the way, the palace being a casino was also a good idea. Probably within the same realm of me saying Cheetos Palace being a cruise ship was probably so outlandish that it turned out to be a good idea. The palace being a casino was also so outlandish that it turned out being a good idea. Nijima's Palace is just, it's so fun to play through. Even though her palace is really short in the grand scheme of the game, it's one of the most well-designed palaces. Just the walking around the palace in general, you find so many different small details that you wouldn't notice if you're just playing through normally. Even like the trophies or the items that you get in the thing, you get like card shuffler decks, which, I mean, like, why would you get those in any other palace except this one? I know that's kind of random because whatever, but you also, just think about it, in Kaneshiros you get calculators. What? Other than that, this palace does everything perfectly. I'm not even lying. It's probably the best thing that came out of Persona 5, other than maybe the Royal Palace, which we're not talking about because this is base Persona 5. Alright, I'm going to leave this here and we're going to head into the outro. Also, as a side note, Whims of Fate is the best song in this game, and if you tell me otherwise, then I will come and beat you. Alright, I really hope you guys did enjoy this video. This video took a long time to make, and I really do hope that this video does perform at least semi-well. If you guys like the video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure to tell me down in the comments if you want me to keep doing videos like this, or also make your list of the palaces from Persona 5 in the comments as well. I'll try to make sure I read every single one and reply to every single one as well. Anyways, I hope to see you guys next time, and I'll see you on the channel again. Alright, bye.